Hey, if you're like me and a new father, you are meeting new people all the time. So I'm going to tell you 3 ways to help you remember people's names when you first meet them. I should learn how to use this camera. I should learn how to use this camera. Hey, we've made it to week. Hey, how's it going? Hey, we've made. Hey, why do I keep doing that? Hi, my name is Alex. Thank you so much for listening and tuning into On Comedy and Life, a channel dedicated to journaling my journey. Hey everybody, I'm really excited about this video because 2 things that I realized over the past week. 1, over the past 10 weeks, I've recognized that I have not introduced myself as often as I think I should have in these videos. So I wanted to say, hi, my name is Alex, and thank you so much for tuning in to On Comedy and Life, where I'm documenting my goal to record a comedy album in the next 12 months. And if you watched previous videos, you see that I talk about goal setting, which I write in this octopus journal, and now I've implemented a comedy binder where I'm starting to write the jokes that I hope to include in my routine for that album. The second reason I wanted to do this topic of how to remember people's names is, as a new father, you are meeting new parents all the time. My son is hanging out with children I only know by name and recognizing them in the park. Maybe it's through a daycare or a birthday party that he goes to, or he's hanging out at the park with the nannies. And the truth is that I'm familiar with the child and the child's name, but I'm meeting the parents for the first time, which happened to me a few days ago, where I was interacting with my son who was meeting up with a friend of his, and I met the father for the first time, and he shared with me a really awesome technique that I'm going to share with you after I share with you 3 techniques that have worked for me in the past. Now, before I get started, I used to be really good at remembering names. I had a job where I would jump on tour buses as an extra chaperone, and within 2 days of spending my time on that bus, I had to memorize almost 40 names. And once those 2 days were up, I'd have to do it all over again on another tour bus. And I had to memorize another 40 names. And these are the techniques that I use that helped me remember almost 80 people in 5 days, and sometimes I would do this for 2 weeks at a time, so I'd be meeting hundreds of people. Is it true that I knew everybody's name? No. I mean, the brain can only hold so much information, but it did help that I was able to remember many people, and it really helps when you're trying to make connections, because after that tour group was done and coming back to their home community, I was able to network and build connections with them when they return. So I want to start with technique number 1. Just use their name. I thought I'd start off with the best technique to share, and it has worked over and over again. So a lot of these videos will give you 3 of your best techniques, or 5 of your best techniques, or 7 best techniques, but the number 1 technique that works the best is to use their name in a sentence when you hear their name. I'm going to tell you a piece of advice. Some of these videos will tell you got to stay focused when someone gives you their name, and I'll tell you that. Pay attention when they give your name. But I remember reading a study that said when 2 people meet and they exchange names, the only name they actually remember is their own. So I want to give yourself a little bit of grace, and that if you do not hear somebody's name when they introduce themselves, just say, hey, I'm wondering if you could just tell me your name again, and then use it in a sentence. So you meet a guy named Greg, and you just say, Greg, very nice to meet you. Greg, I was wondering if you caught the last episode of Breaking Bad or Westworld. And just use it and sprinkle it into your conversation. And the more that you use it, the more that you'll reinforce the connection that the person you're talking to is Greg, or the person you're actually talking to. Technique number 2. So one of the things that helped me when I was meeting a lot of people for the first time is repeating their name silently in my mind. Now, you can do it by whispering the name quietly, but just make sure that the person you meet doesn't hear their name being repeated. It's a little creepy. You meet somebody named Brian and you're just like, Brian. It's a little weird, okay? And you could just meet somebody, and if you aren't quiet about it, and you're like, oh, your name is Damien? Damien. Trust me, it doesn't matter if you remember that person's name. That person will remember you, and they will probably avoid you. So the best thing to do is just to say you meet somebody, they introduce themselves, they say, "Hi, my name is Cindy," and you just say in your head, repeating the name over and over again to reinforce the fact that you're trying to recognize a pattern of the person that you're talking to is the name that you're repeating in your head. Technique number 3. A lot of books actually talk about this techniques, and you might even find a couple of videos on YouTube that tell you to use this technique, but I say use this with caution, because what the technique is associating that person's name with something physical about them. So just say that you meet Greg and he has glasses, and you're saying, "Oh, that's Greg with glasses, Greg with glasses. Oh, hi Greg, nice to meet you. Greg has glasses." Here's the problem. Next time you meet Greg and he's wearing his contacts, or maybe it's a while that you meet Greg and he has laser eye surgery, all of a sudden Greg does not have glasses. So you might not be making that connection. One of the books say that, I remember reading this, that, oh, if Bob has bad breath, then you can say in your mind that, oh, Bob has bad breath. But what happens if that slips out while you're talking to them? Nobody needs that. Nobody needs Bob with bad breath, or Nancy with the funky nose hair, or maybe Brianna with the huge... The point I'm trying to make is that that technique can get you into a lot of trouble. I think that third technique has a bunch of pitfalls that I really would suggest that you avoid, which is why I'm excited to share with you a fourth technique that I had just learned this past week while I was meeting a new father. So I'm walking down the street with my son. I'm about to go hang out at this person's house who my son is friends with, and I'm meeting the father for the first time. My name's Alex, his name is Ted, and we introduce ourselves, and within a few minutes, he turns to me and says, "I'm sorry, I forgot your name." And I said, "No problem, my name's Alex." And he says, "You know what? This is something that's gonna help me remember your name. I have a friend named Alex, and I'm gonna picture him hugging you." And he just pictures that guy sort of like bear hugging, small, scrawny, dad clothes wearing me. And he says it's just a way of him remembering somebody he already knows and loves in his life, like this dear friend of his, Alex, and now associating that with the person that he's meeting for the first time, me. Okay? And I think that's a really great technique. One of the cool things about it is that you can pick celebrities that you like. I'd be very mindful about which celebrities, because you don't want to pick somebody, like I said, who has like a bad reputation. "Oh, your name's Gary Busey." I think what you can do is find somebody that is well respected. Finding somebody well respected in Hollywood, okay, that might be a little difficult. You can find somebody in your life that you can associate with the new person that you're meeting. Now, mind you, this technique does have its limitations, and that limitation is that if you meet somebody with a very unique name, it might be hard to find somebody in your world sharing that same name. But I find that if you can make these positive connections with the new person that you're meeting, it's very likely that you're going to remember their name. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Those are 4 techniques to help you remember people's names, and the truth is I'm really excited for next week's video as I share a little bit more about my life and my comedy journey. I just want to say that if you are interested in setting big goals to accomplish in the next 12 months, please check out my first couple of videos and share with me some of the things that you hope to accomplish. I do want to say that one thing in this comedy journey that has benefited me is the power of asking, and I was able to land a few big shows just by simply emailing some of the producers and asking them for a spot. That's another little bonus comedy tip that I wanted to throw in at the end, and perhaps I will talk about it in a future video. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. I'm Alex, and this is On Comedy and Life. It was part of my job about 10 years ago where I would be an extra chaperone on these tour buses that were 10 days long. These tour buses that were 10 days long. It doesn't make any sense. It is the weekend. I'm wearing my father's clothes, so let's get this. My father's clothes. I meant to say dad clothes. Hey, I have like no energy.